Okay. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
A little bit of housekeeping before we get in.
No, angry housekeeping
Yeah,
from me.
angry.
I don't know what you're going to refer to.
No, I was going to refer to the last episode.
Yes, so episode 16. If you are listening on the app that has the green logo on it with the 3 lines, unfortunately, for some reason, that episode 16 is not available on that app because I did not realize how stupid sensitive that app's copyright was, and I hummed a song for like 4 seconds, and the episode never went up. So we worked really hard on it. It's about Amityville Horror, the house and the hauntings. We put a lot of effort into it. It's one of our bigger episodes. So if you're not able to listen to it, if you go on to Apple, you can listen to it there. You can give us a review there. And then I think you can also go directly to Podbean's website, which is where we post from, and you can find it there. That I think is free to use.
It's literally up
Everywhere
everywhere
else.
except that app. Hopefully, by the time this goes up, it should be up as well. And then you
Yes.
can completely disregard this and write us off as
Yes.
crazy people.
I want to be as transparent as possible for anyone who's listening to this who is wanting to start a podcast, because we are literally learning as we go. But for some reason, the episode went up Friday morning, Thursday night, as it always does, typically for us. And it, for some reason, decided to notify us that the episode was not posted Sunday morning at 12:50 a.m. after I had come home from work, and at 12:30 in the morning took that part out of the episode and re-uploaded it as a new episode, and then it sent me a notice saying, oh, this episode's been taken down.
It's so dumb. I don't understand what's going on with it. It's actually very upsetting because while I wasn't super thrilled about my segment with it,
Yeah.
we both had put in so much work on getting the episode edited and the research and everything.
So this week, I am not as busy as I could be. I have midterms this week. So I'm going to attempt to get our Patreon going, but I'm going to not like a paid version. I'm going to try and do that free feed where you can just like follow us and have the episodes go up there on that day. So I'm going to try and get that going. And then for some reason, it's not posting to YouTube. So I'm going to try.
Because apparently it's too big. But
so I'm going to be independently independently uploading those episodes to YouTube as well. So hopefully that will also be accessible to you guys. So I'm sorry that those things haven't been going. They should have been going on their own, but YouTube is just being a butt. And
we're doing what we can with what we have.
Yes, we are very, very busy. I'm going through a lot right now transitionally. I had to take a snack today and then ended up taking a 2-hour nap instead. So
which tells you a lot.
I was like, oh, I wonder how long it's going to take for this to kick in, and me for like, not have 50 million voices in my head at once screaming different things that I needed to prioritize. And I ended up laying down, and Psychos was like, okay, you can only lay down for like 5 minutes, and then I slept for 2 hours.
Well, no, I said I could only lay down for 5 minutes because I had shit to do.
Yeah, speaking of which, let's just jump into it. How are you today, Psychos?
Oh god, I'm so stressed. So here's the thing. Currently I'm just a very stressed bean, but I did end up taking like the first step in going forward with one of my careers that I really want to do.
I am so unbelievably proud of you, by the way. I literally, Psychos was like, oh, can you beta read this for me? And I was like, yeah, I can beta read this for you. And then between class, which again, I'm still the person that like, if I don't, this will make sense if you listen to last week's episode, I'm the person that has to get 100% in all my classes. And I even mentioned that to my professor today, and she was like, Mythos, it doesn't matter if you get a 95 or higher, it's still going to show up as an A+. I'm like, you don't understand.
So
she was like,
oh, so you talked to your professor, and
I literally
she told you the same thing I did.
I was like, I'm here to do this 20-point extra credit lab that was not mandatory during midterm week, because I was like, I want those extra points. There's also another big extra credit opportunity on the midterm in the final exam, so that's fun.
She's gonna look at you and
I'm gonna have like 150 in the class. Just gonna be like, really? I mean, like, I feel great. It's raining?
It's pouring. Do you hear it?
No. Oh, I do! No, and we're recording! Homophobic!
I know. So,
Anyway,
m-
so,
Mythos really likes it
I
whenever it
really
rains.
I love the rain. We live somewhere where it rains often, but it does not storm.
And I
Like,
want
there's
it
no
to
thunder and lightning.
storm.
And we're from somewhere where it storms all the fucking time, which is crazy. But anyway, I really, really, really wanted a beta read your thing, and then I got so burnt out between research and studying that I physically couldn't read. I had to have Psychos read my questions on my quiz before I turned it in because I couldn't read anymore. So this episode's a little bit lighter on me just because I am in the midst of doing so much work. But next episode is going to be a bigger episode. It's also going to be dedicated to my coworker who just, I'm going to cry. I miss him so much already. My coworker who just left. Yeah, Saturday was his last day. He's not fully left the company. He is leaving for a little bit and then he kind of pops back in when he has extra time. But he's getting married in October. So he hopped in to work some hours, save up some money. So next episode is going to be a story that he requested specifically.
Oh,
So
so yeah, next episode is gonna be a reason of why you should not have kids, point blank. Just be like, oh,
yes,
well, not anniversary, happy wedding, like
happy wedding.
happy wedding.
Don't do this.
Don't ever have kids ever.
But the story that he picked is very accurate to like who he was at work.
Yeah, that's
Not
fair.
like personally, but like as his like character. Very accurate. Anthony, congratulations on your wedding. I need to text you and figure out what your wife's name is. I totally forgot, so I can dedicate next episode to you, but I miss you so much. Oh my god, please come back. I'm already upset and it's only been 2 days. Anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. No, so I realized that I hadn't like written anything like fictional in a while. I do write a lot because my notes for these episodes are more like scripts. Like I write myself scripts fully. And honestly, I could compile all of my notes into like what was that? What are you doing over there?
Nothing.
I heard a noise and I'm sure it probably picked up on Mythos's end, but like I looked up and Mythos had the most guilty look on their face. Like it was one of those like tight lip like type things. But
It's my Nintendo Switch.
I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on over there. But here's the
No
thing.
one tell them.
You know I'm editing this, right?
Oh no.
I'll listen to this later.
Oh wait, you know, Psychos, you've done so much this week. Maybe I should edit this episode.
Anyway, so I started writing fiction again, and so far, like I published it to like a self-published like sort of forum, and it's only been up for like a day or so, but so far the response to it has been really nice, and it kind of is like
Psychos is whelmed.
I am overwhelmed. Like I don't know. It's nice to see that I still have writing abilities that aren't nonfiction related, you know?
Yeah.
So, because most of all the writing I'm doing right now is nonfiction and true crime. Eventually,
And
I do
research
want,
based.
yeah, I do want to eventually write my own true crime book, but that will be a project for future psychos.
Yeah.
Not even future psychos, future psychos in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been other than sleeping?
So I've been struggling from a lack of sleeping recently, so it feels like every like week I'm going through it. I'm sorry. Kind of.
Well, you're human.
We're mental health advocates. I can't advocate for mine though.
God damn it. That's why I'm advocating for yours.
I know.
Myself.
Yeah.
And then you're advocating for mine.
Exactly. So there's this thing that I am trying to work towards. I'm trying to get basically. And it's kind of goes along with my career and what I'm doing, what I'm going to school for. And it's a very big step for me. And I think everything is kind of a big step for me because I'm just now kind of still taking back my life and believing that I have the worth to be able to do the things that I want to do. So I took a chance and I basically requested to work on this thing that I have the qualifications for fully, but I just have this like nervousness that like what if they actually don't need me on this project, or what if, I think I have the qualifications but I don't. And so I requested to be part of this last Sunday, I believe. I've yet to hear anything back. It's been a week. Now, to be fair, I called them sometime last week,
Mhm.
and just was like introducing myself, being like, "Hey, I just want to like reach out and be like, hey, I requested to be part of this thing." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're still looking through like everyone that requested and whatnot. It's gonna take a few days." And I was like, "Okay." And I had the confidence, like it's someone out there is probably gonna know what I'm talking about, but that feeling that you get when you're just like, I know that this is something that I'm gonna do. Like you get this information, you're just like, this is it. Like I'm 100% certain this is gonna work. And I very rarely have those feelings, but when I do, they pretty much every single time that's what happens. So I had the certainty, I was so confident in everything, and then I had this horrible nightmare. And basically it was like not only did they deny my request to join, but they actually critiqued and nitpicked my request, like grammatically. And it was such a blow to like me as a person.
It really
Um
was.
and I like the next day, like you probably noticed, like my mood immediately changed. I have yet to recover that confidence that I had. And I think it'll make sense for people who are very similar to me, where it's like I have a very high standard for myself and I expect myself to be like the absolute like perfect version I can be. I'm a Leo.
Yeah, that tracks.
I was also born in the year of the tiger.
Mm.
So I'm the head of two different zodiac households. So I command a lot of respect for myself. Like I hold myself to a very high standard. So ever since then I have not had the confidence, and every single time that I, talk to someone about it or I mention it, everyone's like, "Oh my god, that makes sense. Like that totally works for you." And we've looked into it, and every time that we've like kind of done any kind of spirituality stuff to be like, is this going to work? Everything comes back good. I just have crippling anxiety. And that's been, I think I've had 3 dreams about it in the last week. The first one was absolutely horrible, tanked me completely. And the other 2 were like good in a, like, not crazy good, like not like a, you're going to get the job kind of a dream, but just like a hey, this is okay to like want.
Yeah, you're slowly getting back what you had before, I
Yeah.
think. I think you're slowly
I
rebuilding that.
I'm getting there. It is really hard, but yeah, so that's been a lot of my time. And then I've missed 2 questions now over the course of 4 weeks in my classes. And I'm taking it very personally. To which my teacher was like, "Don't." Um,
I think
I
your
think I actually had
professor
the
and
highest class, or have I think I actually have the highest grade in the class right now.
you probably do. I think your professor and I are probably gonna take turns throttling you.
Probably. But so that's kind of where I am. I've just been struggling to like get myself in the shower, get up, get dressed, get to work. I've been so burnt out on reading. I just got a lot going on. And then like I feel bad because I haven't kept up with like the household chores, like taking the recycling out and stuff, because I've been at work like nonstop, but then also somehow not working enough. So I'm in a very weird position with everything right now. So I am here. I am happy to be here. But I am here, and that's all I am right now.
Honestly, that's all anybody can expect from you is just to be here. And
Yeah.
if anybody expects anything else from you, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight.
But
I'm gonna fight.
I've just been having issues like sleeping and stuff like that. And research has been really hard for me. And pretty much if I'm not researching, I told this to my coworker Crowley the other day, but I was like, if I'm not researching, or hi Crowley, by the way, if I'm not researching or
Hi.
doing schoolwork, I'm sleeping. Or work. If I'm not working, doing research, or doing schoolwork, I'm sleeping. I eat at work actively while working. And if I'm not, like, that's when I eat. So I literally, if I'm not eating, working, or something like that, I'm asleep. Like there's no in between.
Mm.
So And then, episode 16 getting throttled on that one app, just it was like a gut punch to us. And we've requested an appeal and we haven't heard anything back yet. I requested the appeal Sunday night when I got the email, and it's Monday now and we have not heard anything back, which is whatever. They probably didn't even start looking at it until today.
Everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. It may not be okay now. It might not be okay later, but everybody has days where shit hits the fan, and they'll constantly have days where it's continuously hitting the fan. And unfortunately, that is just the way of life for people with depression and anxiety. You kind of have to find the small moments in between here and there to like really hold on to, just to like make it through. Like for instance, for me, those moments are at night when I get to cuddle the shit out of Mythos.
So I'm getting there, but this podcast is run by two people, at least myself I can speak on, who has chronic depression and anxiety. I have OCD. Not like the oh my god, I need all my like I literally will get up at 2 a.m. to triple check to make sure that I lock my car, and if I don't hear the beep, I have to physically walk outside and make sure that I hear it and see my car get locked. So not the fun kind. And I obviously overthink about everything. And I have Tourette's, so it puts me somewhere on the spectrum. I don't know where I am on the spectrum, but I definitely got some spectrum tendencies. So, life is chronic.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how I'm chronically ill. I have days where I literally can't get out of bed, so I'm literally in bed doing work for this podcast. Like, even on days where I technically shouldn't even be doing anything, I'm still trying to put the work in. It's just the two of us right now, so we're trying our best with what we have. It's not always going to be fun and festive and pretty. I know we're not going to lie to you and say that it is fun and festive and pretty. Life is hard. Life is shit sometimes.
Yeah, and we talk about this and we've mentioned it a couple times, but I think it is very important that if you're listening to this, and based on the analytics, at least some people are listening to this in Texas for some reason too.
I mean,
I see you.
We see you.
We see you guys.
We can see where you are.
We can see where you are. If you're listening to this, I don't know what you're going through. You're probably cleaning or driving somewhere or working and have your headphones in like me. And I don't know what you're going through. And if you need a reminder that other people are obviously struggling with this. Like I hate when people do like true crime content too, and they're just like, "Oh, everything's sunshine and rainbows," like all the time. And I'm like, how the fuck?
Like,
But
how is your mental health not in the fucking shitter after reading and looking at all of this shit? I'm sorry.
I still cry over the Romanov daughters. I literally cried this week over the Romanov daughters.
I am currently doing research on a case that's not going to come out for a couple weeks.
For me, it's for me.
But
Oh no, it's not that one.
It's not that one.
Never mind.
But it literally triggered me. Like it literally, like when I say triggered, I don't mean like, oh, I'm so upset. Like
actually
PTSD
trauma
triggered me. And I honestly didn't want to do it. I was too uncomfortable, but then I realized we live in a society where shit like this happens all the time. Maybe not to this extreme of a degree in that case that I'll talk about. And once we get to that episode, I'll go. Actually, no, I lied. Next episode, I'll give a blanket trigger warning for that episode after, so that way you can decide whether or not at that point in time you want to.
And we'll probably do one at the beginning of the episode.
Absolutely, as well. Too, because it is going to be rough and it is going to be very difficult to listen to. My cases from today till then, probably even further up until I hit the lighthearted mini dives that I have planned in a few weeks, they're all pretty heavy, and I did not intend that to happen. But
yeah, so I'll be doing some lighter stuff to kind of balance it out a little bit. But I will be doing a heavier story. I think next month is when I'm doing Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah, I realized that we don't have. Everybody kind of has this luxury of picking and choosing what cases they can do and what they want to do. You can talk about what you want all day long, but unfortunately, if you don't talk about the shit that makes you uncomfortable or makes other people uncomfortable, you're leaving out an entire demographic of people who lived that, and then you get to decide, as a content creator or as somebody who's putting out this true crime content that
Oh,
you're
I
just
don't want to
like,
do this because it makes me uncomfortable. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, well, unfortunately, the people that it happened to couldn't opt out of not dealing with it. So,
and don't,
and
yeah,
unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of cases that we're going to talk about that aren't covered by media or don't have a lot of attention. And it sucks, because like we could sit here and talk about the really big stories that everyone's talked about because it gets you traction and whatever, but the whole point is to talk about things that people don't know about, or at least aren't too commonly talked about, which is probably because there's not a lot of information, but not a lot of information doesn't, excuse the fact that people died,
yeah. And I am going to be discussing these next few cases are going to actually be pretty popular, but for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of them have some controversy involved in one way or the other, and I will be weighing in heavily with my own personal opinion. I will let you know when my own opinion is about to come like shine through, but like I don't plan on shying away from this stuff.
Mhm.
And while we do make jokes and stuff, it is never going to be about the case itself, which
Mhm.
is why we kind of try to plan to get the really heavy and dark stuff out of the way in the very beginning of the episode so that way at the end of the episode we have that time to debrief and laugh and talk.
Yeah. Just kind of to yeah. Speaking of laughing and debriefing, so now that I have officially uncrispied my Bible, once summer is over, because I'm pretty sure that's normal for college students to take summer off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've always taken summer classes, so I'm not used to having summers off. I will be doing a little series on Patreon exclusively, just talking about the different books of the Bible with no context. So if you want to hear that shit show where I make an ass of myself before I get the B plot or what the fuck's going on in the Bible, it's gonna be on our Patreon. So yeah, that'll be fun. Because I really don't know anything about Christianity. You were explaining Seven-Day Adventists to me today, and I swear to God, I've heard that like 50 times, and I don't know what the context is. And then we were talking about Branch Davidians, and I was like, yeah, those are like normal Christians, right? And you were like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean?
So I'm already kind of getting started on a Branch Davidian slash Waco series. However,
Do you imagine the shock that I found? Imagine the shock that I had walking into a Target discovering that the Waco people were Branch Davidians. That was traumatizing.
so yeah, and I'm just dropping like little hints here, like little like tidbits of information as I learn them because, like I mentioned before, my main cult of interest, I suppose, would be the best way to put that, is
Is the Jonestown.
is People's Temple. Yeah. Now I do have fascinations with all cults because I love looking at how they work and stuff, but dropping little hints every now and then is my favorite way to keep Mythos on their toes.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We did a lot of ranting. We were very upset about this whole
God, I really hope that that
episode
comes.
16 thing. We put in an appeal for it. We're just waiting for it to go up. I check every freaking day.
Fingers crossed. Are we
Maybe one day.
ready to get into my case or?
Yes, we are ready to get into your case.
Okay. So, I have a question for you.
Oh no, you haven't asked me that in a while. Wow, throwback.
What would you do if there was a child right in front of you? No. That one,
Kick it.
Alyssa Milano.
Kick it.
No. What
Hit
would
it
you
with your car.
No, what would you do if
Mhm.
a doctor looked at you and told you that we cannot do something because if we did that thing that both of us wanted more than anything, and if we did that, it would mean I would be lost in a state of psychosis, essentially.
I wouldn't do it. Or I'd find another way that wouldn't put you in that state. But if there's no way, then I just wouldn't do it. It's not worth it.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything in this world that I would want more than you to be exactly how you are.
Alrighty, so today I am talking about the tragic case of Andrea Yates and her 5 children.
Is it not Andrea Yates?
Andrea. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Andrea Yates was born Andrea Pia Kennedy to her parents, Yuda, I think it's either Yuda or Judah, Karen Kohler, and Andrew Emmett Kennedy on July 3rd, 1964. She was the youngest of 5 children and was born and raised in Houston, Texas, along with her 4 older siblings, Andrea being the youngest. Despite being raised Catholic, she wasn't actually particularly religious until her early to mid-20s. Now, Yuda or Judah, I wasn't sure which one, was actually a German immigrant, while Andrew was the son of Irish immigrants. Judah was a stay-at-home mom, while Andrew worked as an auto shop employee. Now, growing up, Andrea was actually extremely shy and was a known people pleaser. She attended Milby High School, where she was a member of the National Honor Society, as well as the captain of the swim team. So she was incredibly intelligent and hardworking, eventually becoming valedictorian of her class in 1982. So she's very hardworking. However, when she was 17 years old, she confided in a friend that she was experiencing suicidal thoughts and suffered from bulimia, though there is no evidence that she ever acted on these suicidal ideations or thoughts at this time.
Okay.
So she has a history of this, unfortunately. But I mean, with as much as she was doing, she was probably putting a lot of pressure on herself, which
Can relate.
sounds really familiar.
Anyway.
Andrea then proceeded to attend the University of Houston, completing a 2-year nursing program before attending the University of Texas School of Nursing. She went on to graduate from this in 1986. So right after graduating from the nursing program, she began to work at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center as a registered nurse. She would work here from 1986 to 1994. And in 1994, she would quit to become a full-time stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why she left that job. Andrea, during this time, would also have her first boyfriend at 23. This relation... Yeah. At this time, this relationship would end up falling apart due to Andrea refusing to have sex before marriage, something that had been a point of contention for nearly the entire relationship.
Honestly, good for you on standing your boundaries. I know that's typically like a religious thing. People don't want to have sex until marriage, but it's your boundaries are your boundaries, home slice. And if someone tries to push your boundaries, push them off a cliff. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Unless.
No. But after this relationship ended, she kind of focused on herself.
Good for her.
Now, in 1989, Andrea was doing very well for herself, living in her own apartment, working at this nice job at the cancer center. And as a former member of the swim team, she often went to the pool at her apartment complex and swam as like a means of exercise.
Oh, I love a good swimming pool.
During one of these swim sessions, Andrea would meet Rusty Yates. Both were 25 at the time.
Okay.
Now, initially, Rusty would try to strike up a conversation, but it would fall so fucking flat because he thought that she was beautiful because she was just floating there in the water. And, like, he fumbled. He fumbled so hard.
Fumble harder. Fuck off, actually.
But he would give her his apartment number. So if they ever wanted to hang out and try again, they could. And funnily enough, she actually goes to his apartment and knocks on the door and asks, like, this is like a few months later, asks if he had noticed anything weird in the parking lot, because her car had actually been hit and the person had run. But she wasn't in the car. She wasn't around the car during the time. So she was just asking around.
It was a parked car.
It was a parked car.
How do you hit a parked car?
I don't know. How do people hit a shopping cart in the middle of a parking lot?
Okay. Listen.
I gotta get the jokes out now.
Now you have to tell the story.
So, I have only heard the story secondhand.
This is the greatest thing I've ever done in my goddamn life. Okay, so I lived on the East Coast at this time. And I was leaving the dentist. And I don't do this. I do not do this. But parking lot was completely empty, right? Nothing in sight. Not even a mouse. Right? And I was like, you know what? So the parking lot was really confusing because there was like 2 entrances, but they were impossible to find. Because the way that the curb worked is you couldn't see where the entrance to get out or the exit to get out onto the main road was from any point in the parking lot unless we were right up fucking on it. So I realized that I was too far right in the parking lot and I needed to get farther left to like go over there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, instead of going all the way to the end of the parking lot, turning left, going all the way, just to have to like circle back around and then into a little area to get onto the main road. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna cut through the parking lot because it's empty. There's no one near me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the parking lot and I just do a hard left. Immediate hard left. Now, I don't do this anymore. And I'm a very good driver now. This was when I was like very young. Like I was like fresh 18, 19, right? And I just got my license like not that long before. Out of nowhere, this shopping cart appears in the back of the parking lot. And I took a hard left pretty quickly with no one else around me. And I demolished the shopping cart. I hit this thing with the front left of my car and it went fucking flying. And then I come home. It scared the shit out of me too, but thank God it was just a shopping cart. It was one of those like thin ones that are like the 2 baskets instead of like a big one.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those tiny ones. I fucking wrecked this thing. It went flying and like crumpled and like cried, you know. And then I come home and there's like a little tiny scuff of like white on my car. Like it had scuffed something off or I don't know what. And my parents were convinced that I had hit a pole or something. They thought I had hit someone and run. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, Dad, I hit a shopping cart. And he's like, there's no way you hit a shopping cart. Why is there white paint on your car? And I'm like, okay, well, you can't buff the white paint off, can you? No, it's not a paint, it's a scratch. They thought I hit a pole. I'm like, no, the story is dumber than that. I hit a shopping cart that was in the middle of an empty parking lot and I didn't see it somehow. So it was dark. Okay, it was about to rain. And it was a gray shopping cart on a gray parking lot. It was basically invisible. It was also in my blind spot when I turned.
Okay.
So,
Well, there's that. And that's going to be like.
the shopping cart is a lot smaller than a parked car.
Okay. Well, there's your brevity for the rest of my segment. It only gets worse from here.
Sorry, I have more stories of me doing dumb shit for you guys.
So she shows up to his apartment to like ask if.
Hey, who the fuck hit my car?
Pretty much. And he's like, I don't know. But then they end up hitting it off. So
Much like a car hit hers. Sorry.
So initially, didn't go well. But second time's the charm, I guess. So they would actually end up begin dating this second time. Rusty Yates actually grew up near Nashville, Tennessee.
Ew!
Shit. I don't like Nashville as a whole because they think that they're country, but really they're all city folk and they...
I've been to the park that has that big Parthenon in it. That was weird.
Rusty Yates grew up near Nashville, Tennessee. He was the grandson of a Methodist preacher, and this would highly influence his decision to become part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Wow. The son of a Methodist pastor?
Grandson.
Grandson of a Methodist pastor in Nashville? Color me surprised.
He was known as a jock in high school playing football. He actually graduated high school with very good grades, getting into Auburn University. He later became president of the campus Methodist youth group.
He went to Auburn?
Mm-hmm.
Judging.
For real, though. After graduating, he attempted to become part of the Navy, but realized very quickly that the Navy was not what he wanted in his life.
The Navy's not what anyone wants in their life.
He instead took a job with NASA.
Okay.
However, while in university, Rusty would meet Michael and Rachel Warnecki, and these two people would play a major role in this case for the sole impact that they both had on Rusty and Andrea during their relationship. Rusty would go on to introduce Andrea to the Warneckis while they were dating. Now, these two lived a very nomadic lifestyle with their children, homeschooling them while preaching everywhere, specifically about the roles in the home each person was supposed to play and how they should all interact. Michael specifically preached that the sins of the mother pass on to the sins of the children. Should
What?
the mother sin, it's the children who would burn for that sin. And it was really intense, but just how intense that level of Christianity that was preached was, we will never really know because there's not a whole lot of information out there about what he specifically preached.
That's a really weird stance to have.
But many people who people believe that had Michael and Rachel Warrenecki not been involved with the Yateses, Andrea would never have ended up killing her children later on.
Can we have a kill count for all of the people who wouldn't have died had Christians not done what Christians do?
That's a lot. That's so many.
I know.
That's so many.
I know.
But
This is why. If you ever wonder why does Mythos, this is why.
Yeah.
This is why.
Like I mentioned before, Andrea was introduced to the Warreneckis in 1989 when she and Rusty started dating. When they were all introduced, Michael warned the couple to take it slow, and that's something he kind of told all the couples he met to do regardless. He kind of warned them about this. We'll get into it. He and Rusty actually get into it a little bit later, and it causes a rift between them, but for some reason they still stay in contact.
Okay.
So, Rusty at this time did actually struggle quite a bit with alcoholism. But
Shocker.
despite this, he actually moved very quickly into sobriety, finding that being around Andrea, he didn't feel the need to rely on substances nearly as much.
Aww.
Aw.
Aww.
But he did rely on the faith that the Warreneckis taught. Meetings were held weekly, and discussions about their future often referenced living like the Warreneckis. Now, Rusty and Andrea did move in together in 1992 after a few years of dating, despite not being married. And this was extremely uncomfortable for Andrea. She was not really happy about this. And this actually led to her not wearing a veil the day of her wedding because she felt impure.
Oh no.
Because the idea is
That sounded sarcastic. That didn't mean to sound sarcastic.
no, it's really upsetting, but
The other thing is, I think since I don't understand Christianity, I don't understand a lot of wedding practices.
I don't.
Like the white dress and the veil. That just seems like dirt waiting to happen.
It does, but the white is supposed to signify that you're pure, that you are being presented to your husband pure. You have never been touched by a man, never been looked at a man. It's one of those things. Christians place a lot of emphasis on purity, and that's why the uprising of purity culture that's being run rampant with the younger generation right now is stressing me the fuck out.
Yeah, I don't understand Christianity, so I don't understand half the shit that goes on at weddings. Because to me, in a wedding, you were like the nice shit, right? You were like the nice jewelry, and you dress up,
Yeah.
and you were all the colors and whatnot. That's why you didn't wear white at the wedding.
Anyway, the couple got married on April 17th, 1993, and the wedding, by all accounts, was beautiful and Andrea looked genuinely happy. The newlyweds then moved into a 4-bedroom house with the hopes of filling it with children as they agreed to have as many children as God would allow. They were not quiet about this either.
A quiverful. Did I get that right? I got really excited about knowing something. Sorry, I'm eating hot munchies and I inhaled just like a chunk of hot spice. Isn't that what the the Duggars believe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the quiverful movement, it's unknown if Andrea and Rusty or the Warreneckis were even part of this quiverful movement. A lot of their belief systems do line up with it. And the quiverful movement will be something I'll get into in a later time, just because there's a whole lot that goes into it and we don't have a whole lot of time here. It'll probably be one of the free Patreon things that goes up, where I can actually deep dive into quiverful as a whole, so that way we can have the time to get into it.
We'll talk about cult dog whistles.
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, they were not quiet about wanting that many children. Everybody knew that they wanted a large family. Now, 2 months after their wedding, Andrea became pregnant, and then on February 26th, 1994, Noah Jacob Yates was born. While she was still in the hospital, Andrea informed staff that Satan was there and told her to get a knife and stab someone.
I'm sorry, what the fuck did you just say? Repeat that.
She had just given birth, and while there, she informed one of the nurses that Satan was there, that she had seen Satan, and Satan had told her to grab a knife and to stab somebody. Nothing was done about this.
That's not good.
No, it's not. This is the first instance that we see of...
So she's got some kind of mental disease going on.
Yeah, the mental issues, yes. Nothing was done about this, and this is the first instance we see of her showing these signs and nothing being done about it.
Amazing.
And this is with her first kid. She goes on to have 4 more.
Didn't the DeFeos also have 5 kids?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Almost immediately, Andrea becomes pregnant again with their second child. She would give birth to John Samuel Yates on December 15th, 1995.
You know who else had 5 kids and went fucking insane? Alex Romanov.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have 5 kids.
Around this time, Rusty would be transferred to a position in Florida temporarily. It was going to be for 6 months, so Rusty and Andrea packed their things and moved into a mobile home in Tampa. I knew that was going to get you.
I'm from Florida. That's funny. Tampa's a choice.
Yeah. Realizing that downsizing was more than likely the best thing for their family, they took this experience in Tampa with them when they returned to Texas. They actually bought their mobile home from the Warreneckis. However, whenever they went to go buy this home from the Warreneckis, they got into a fight because Michael and Rachel Warrenecki both thought that Rusty was spending too much time and focus on his career and not spending enough time with his family. So they got really heated about it, and since then, like, communication between the two families were kind of sort of strained, but not like they were still kind of in communication. It was just very minimal since then.
Yeah.
When they returned to Houston, they resided in the RV that they had bought from the Warreneckis in an RV park, despite the birth of their third child, bringing their family to number 5. Paul Abraham Yates joined the family on September 13th, 1997.
Paul Abraham?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
They're all biblical names.
I will never understand biblical names.
At this point, Andrea was no longer working and was a stay-at-home mother to the 3 children, while Rusty went to work with NASA.
That's why he's in fucking Tampa.
Yeah. But they're back in Texas at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, Andrea's family was not thrilled by the turn of events, but Andrea seemed happy, and other than the brief slip after Noah's birth with the whole Satan telling you to grab a knife and stab somebody thing, nothing else really seemed wrong at this point in time.
Okay.
However, after their 4th child, Luke David Yates, was born on February 15th, 1999, things seemed to go downhill for Andrea very, very quickly.
I keep thinking of David Davidson.
Oh my gosh.
Can you out-Bible me?
She started showing signs of extreme postpartum depression and was definitely feeling the effects of her husband not being home. In letters from Rachel, Michael Warrenecki's wife, Andrea is being lambasted for Rusty not being home and not being with his family. These letters also mentioned that Rusty needed to spend more time praying and fixing himself so he could be right with the Lord again. Rachel also chided Andrea for letting her husband slip this far already, and that it is the wife's duty to make sure her husband stays in the Lord's light. Now, because of these letters, Andrea dives headfirst into reading the Bible almost obsessively.
I'm sorry. Back up. It's the wife's job.
Yes.
To make sure that the husband stays in the Lord's light.
Yep.
Would you like her to wipe your ass for you while she's at it, sir?
But that's kind of the thing.
That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me. Because you can't have a religion that bans women in certain churches from holding positions of power in the church, but then make them responsible for making men stick to the faith. You can't do both. Make it make sense. I don't understand.
The hypocrisy.
The hypocrisy is so intense. It's almost like it's ingrained into the fucking Bible itself.
You'll find out more as you read. Good luck. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Anyway, so again, because of these letters, Andrea dives into reading the Bible almost obsessively. She's a stay-at-home mother of 4, and one of those 4 right now is an actual child. Actual baby. They're all children, but baby. Newborn.
Technically 5, she also has a baby her fucking husband, too.
So she's not resting at this time. She's getting between, like, maybe 4 to 5 hours of sleep.
Her postpartum must be ass.
Yeah, she's continuously stressing about her children and husband, and she's not doing well. She's not eating, she's not drinking water. Now, on June 16th, 1999, Andrea calls Rusty and tells him he needs to come home, When he arrives, he finds Andrea on the couch, shaking and crying. She was biting at her fingers until they almost bled. She looks at Rusty and says, quote, "I think I need help," end quote.
Oh, baby.
Andrea was always very good at staying calm and collected, so seeing her like this shocked Rusty.
Mm-hmm.
He immediately knew something was off, but he wasn't sure what exactly was wrong. So he packed up the kids and Andrea and took them to the beach nearby just to take a walk and see if it would help Andrea relax some. Because he figured, like, oh, she's under just a lot of stress. Maybe taking her to the beach to, like, walk around might, like, help ease it. Because he has no idea what the fuck is going on.
I think I hate this man.
No, this is also the 90s, late 90s, and postpartum, while kind of being discussed, is
It
not
wasn't like a known
it
thing.
wasn't really much of a known thing. Mental health at this point was not talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it talks about it, we're getting better and we were making kind of strides towards where we are today, but even today it's still not good.
Yeah.
But comparatively, back then it was even worse.
Yeah.
So when it didn't help Andrea relax, Rusty immediately took everybody to Andrea's parents' home. Andrea's mother immediately stepped up to help with the children. However, the next day, on June 17th, 1999, while everybody else was asleep, Andrea took about 50 pills that belonged to her father to help treat his, I think he had a stroke or he had Alzheimer's
Mm-hmm.
at this point. So he had this medication to help. She took about 50 of those pills to try to overdose.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea's mother luckily found her in time, and an ambulance took her to the hospital where her stomach was pumped.
Okay.
The doctor noted that Andrea appeared very frail and was about 10 pounds below where she should have been for a woman who had just given birth a few months ago.
Okay.
She was completely nonverbal and refused to look anybody in the eye while she was there. On June 18th, 1999, Andrea was transferred to the psychiatric wing of Methodist Hospital and was prescribed both Zoloft and Ativan.
Okay.
Zoloft for her major depressive disorder and Ativan for the insomnia, as doctors discovered that she actually was not sleeping more than 2 hours at a time.
Oh, that's definitely not good for your mental health.
Not at all. In therapy sessions, Andrea was not speaking and appeared almost catatonic at times, but there were some sessions where Rusty was able to join in. During these sessions, they discussed postpartum depression and how that appears to be what was affecting Andrea at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Rusty was initially kind of confused, but also kind of put the pieces together that his wife was acting differently and probably did need more help than what he was currently providing. Despite there being no progress made, Andrea's dosages were upped and she was released on June 24th, 1999 with a referral to Dr. Eileen Starbranch. The family was also informed that under no circumstances were they to leave Andrea alone.
Okay.
This was an extremely important condition of her release. Literally all members of her family were they had to swear that they would not leave her alone. Otherwise, she would not have been released.
Mm-hmm.
So on July 1st, 1999, she has her first session with Dr. Starbranch. Now, these sessions don't appear to be working.
Yeah.
Because on July 20th, 1999, Rusty finds Andrea in their bathroom with a knife to her throat, begging Rusty to let her die.
Oh, baby.
Rusty successfully gets the knife away from Andrea, and no one is hurt, but she's re-hospitalized the next day.
And no one's taking this seriously at all?
Right now, she is on antidepressants and stuff to help her with her insomnia, but they don't realize just how bad it is yet.
Jesus.
But she is re-hospitalized, this time at Memorial Springs Shadow Glen Hospital with a different doctor.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Starbranch is her psychiatrist for most of this, but just a different hospital doctor. Once there, doctors discover that Andrea has deep scratches all across her body from her arms to her face. There were chunks of her hair missing. And despite initially being nonverbal, Andrea would later confess that she was searching for the mark of the beast on herself. She was terrified that unless she killed herself, she would end up hurting or killing somebody else.
Jeez. This poor woman.
Mm-hmm. During her stay, she also revealed that she was homeschooling her children to keep them away from the devil's influence. that she believed that there were video cameras in her home and the cartoon characters in the shows her children watched were judging her for being a bad mother.
What the fuck?
Together with Dr. Starbranch, the doctor who was seeing her in the hospital diagnosed Andrea with postpartum psychosis, not postpartum depression. Now, postpartum psychosis is considered a medical emergency due to the fact that there is an immediate and present danger not only to the mother, but to potentially the children and other people as well.
Yeah.
Andrea was immediately prescribed Haldol, an antipsychotic. Its usage is very unpopular for a myriad of reasons, mostly that it doesn't seem to help most people, but for the people who it does work for, it helps immensely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for the people it doesn't work for, the side effects are long and not necessarily great.
Yeah.
But Andrea, it worked. It was the only thing that worked for her. Andrea was then discharged on August 9th, 1999, beginning daily sessions with Dr. Starbranch the very next day, in sort of like an outpatient program.
Okay.
So while she was improving, she struggled with the label of psychosis, despite reassurance from Starbranch and the nurses who helped administer her medication. So she's like, oh God, I'm psychotic. What am I going to do with that? Because that, even now, that term, that label,
It's a really hard thing to kind of cope with.
it's not even that.
And it's also heavily stigmatized.
It's so stigmatized, which is why I'm pretty sure when people find out, when people read our like aliases,
Oh, yeah.
that's why I kind of have to like remind everybody that it's not psychos, it's psychos for psychology. Jinx. Yeah. But so having that stigma on her, like knowing what that means for her now, she wasn't doing great with it, but she's improving almost daily with this medication. Now, during this time, Rusty sells the mobile home that they were living in and buys something more stable for his family, because he realizes that this really small, cramped RV that they were living in with 4 kids, by the way,
was not working.
By
the way, if you see anyone online who lives in an RV or lives in a motorhome and does content creation, makes their kids of different ages share a room, maybe don't support that content.
No, because it's awful.
Horribly neglectful to the kids.
It's not just neglectful, it's horribly abusive. You are stripping your child of any sense of autonomy. Anyway,
kids need autonomy.
I'm not going to get into that because I will be here all day.
I will.
Now, Andrea was actually doing very well during this time. Friends and family reported that she appeared to be back to her old self again.
Ooh.
Well enough that when Rusty brings up the fact that they wanted to have more children, Andrea goes to Dr. Starbranch and says that she wants to go off the medication to do so, because you cannot take medication, that kind of medication, and be pregnant at the same time.
Yeah, it's too much on the body, I assume.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It wasn't Andrea who went to Rusty to talk about having another kid. It was Rusty who brought up the fact that they were supposed to be filling the halls of their home with as many children as God would allow.
Oh my God.
And while he does appear to be supportive of his wife, reminding her of this kind of sets in motion a series of events that cannot be undone. When Dr. Starbranch hears this on August 18th, 1999, she informs the Yates that if they decide to have another child, Andrea will have another psychotic episode, and she strongly advises that she doesn't. Andrea and Rusty unfortunately don't take her advice. Andrea didn't see how she was at risk again, given that she was feeling so good so soon after starting the medication. And that is a huge thing that happens a lot with patients who start on any new medications, where the problems or how they're feeling immediately gets better.
Yeah.
Or almost immediately gets better. And it takes time, because you also have to fiddle with the dosages, you have to fiddle with the medications. But if you find a medication that works for you, this thing kind of happens where you're like, oh, I don't need this anymore, I feel great. And then you go off the medication, and then it is
downhill.
Back downhill.
Yeah.
Now, on August 29th, 1999, Andrea was discharged from outpatient care and moved to only one session a month with Dr. Starbranch. Now, during these next few months, Andrea appears to be doing very well, more hands-on with the kids, and she's even going out with friends again.
Okay,
So
that's
she's
good.
getting her life back together.
That's good.
However, in November of 1999, Andrea stops taking Haldol so they can begin to try to conceive their next child, informing Starbranch that they had intended to have as many children as possible. Dr. Starbranch again advises against this, warning them that a psychotic episode was almost guaranteed should they have another child.
And no one cares.
Dr. Starbranch is doing everything she can to pump the brakes on this.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she's a grown woman.
You
Can't tell her no.
Yeah.
In January of 2000, Andrea saw Dr. Starbranch for the last time. She was pregnant 3 months later. Despite the warnings, everyone noticed that Andrea was actually doing extremely well with this pregnancy, going all in with the children, doing overall better. She was baking, she was doing arts and crafts with the kids. She was very all in.
Yeah.
She was very present here.
Yeah.
On November 30th, 2000, Andrea gives birth to their daughter, Mary Deborah Yates. Despite everybody's fears, Andrea seems to be doing extremely well.
That will not last long.
But this would all come to an end on March 12th, 2001, when Andrew Kennedy, Andrea's father, would pass due to complications from Alzheimer's.
Oh, no.
And they were extremely close.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Now, Rusty would later say this was when Andrea would begin to crumble again. Andrea was a nurse.
Yeah.
And took the passing extremely hard. She felt that she should have helped her father get better, do better.
Yeah.
Because she was there with him almost constantly. He also noted that she actually did in fact see her father's body before it was taken from the home.
Oh, no.
During the next few days, Andrea relapses. She starts picking at her skin and her scalp until she's bleeding. When Mary cries for anything, all Andrea does is hold her and stare blankly. People have to ask her over and over again, and sometimes it can take 5, 10, 15 minutes for Andrea to even respond or do anything.
Yeah.
She is not
She's
doing well.
gone. Yeah.
She is fucking gone. Now, Rusty calls Dr. Starbranch and basically informs her that Andrea is slipping again, that she's not eating or drinking anything, she's not processing anything that's happening around her, and she's not sleeping any more than an hour at a time.
Jesus.
Immediately, Dr. Starbranch informs him that she has to be readmitted right away.
Yeah.
No hesitation. She has to be readmitted.
Yeah.
So she recommends a hospital that she believes will help her more, because Memorial Springs at this point in time is no longer in operation, and Memorial Springs is where she made her huge comeback.
Yeah.
So that hospital right now is no longer in operation. So she recommends another one, but it's 45 minutes away.
Amazing.
And that's a problem for Rusty.
Yeah.
Because he still has to take care of the children, because he didn't feel comfortable leaving them home alone with Andrea's mother since she had just lost her husband. But he also didn't want to lug 5 children in a car and drive 45 minutes just one way to see their mother.
Okay.
So instead, he makes the decision to admit her to Devereaux, Texas Treatment Network on March 31st, 2001. Now, Andrea does go, but only after he threatens to tie her down and take her in regardless. So it's not that there's no consent there.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, he doesn't really have a choice. While there, she does resume taking antipsychotics, but not Haldol. Not the one that's working for her.
Yeah.
But then here's another issue. Devereaux is an addiction treatment facility. They don't have the capabilities to handle somebody with postpartum anything.
So he took her basically to the wrong specialists.
Yes.
Okay, because he didn't want to drive 45 minutes one direction.
Yes.
Oh my fucking god, dude. Throw the whole man away.
Yeah. Andrea right now isn't eating or sleeping. She's not talking. She's basically forced to start from square one with a new doctor who isn't Dr. Starbranch, who had been there with her almost every step of the way since she had been first diagnosed with postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And Dr. Starbranch is her main doctor, so she has to start all over again.
That's so hard. Gaining the trust of a medical professional is already difficult, but then having to restart with a new one when you are at a worse low than you were the first time, I can't imagine.
No, it's very hard. She's not even being bathed or encouraged to bathe at this point by the hospital staff.
Oh, so they don't give a shit.
No. She's not doing great at all. She's not doing good. She's not doing anything. She's just spiraling more and more. Now, Dr. Mohammed Saeed, her new doctor, actually recommends electric shock therapy for her.
Go fuck yourself. You're lying.
I am not.
Oh my god.
Now, Rusty shuts that shit down.
Oh, finally he gets a fucking brain cell.
Now, despite everybody telling him that Haldol was what worked for Andrea, Dr. Saeed refuses to describe it, and instead prescribes. Prescribe.
You said describe.
I meant prescribe.
Yeah.
He refuses to prescribe it, and instead prescribes this cocktail of drugs that do not work.
Wow, I wonder where I've heard that before. What the fuck is going on with doctors?
I have no fucking idea.
Sorry, I'm specifically talking about a situation where we had to take Psychos to the fucking hospital, and they gave Psychos like a shit ton of drugs that didn't work. And then the moment that your pain went from like a 10 to a 7, they were like, okay, you can leave now, and then prescribed you the medication that we told them didn't work for you 8 hours before. I have beef with doctors.
I have blocked that night almost entirely from my brain.
You have no recollection of that night, but I was about to fight someone in the fucking emergency room.
Yeah. So, being chronically ill and having to go to the ER is not fun.
But what also pissed me off, and this is something that I also want to point out because it might be relevant here, is so we had taken Psychos to the emergency room because you had a migraine that was so bad that you were crippled completely.
Mm-hmm. And this was like a week long migraine.
Yeah. It was bad. And I think I mentioned it here on the podcast before, but basically we took you to we took you to urgent care. They gave you a shot of something and it didn't work. And they were like, if it doesn't work within 2 hours, go to the emergency room. So we took you to the emergency room. We said, this is what they've been given. And they put you in a room. And then got 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I think. They were like, oh, we're shutting down this area of the emergency room. So we're moving all of our patients to these basically like office rooms. So you got moved from a bed after being injected like 4 different times with stuff. They put you in basically an office. Like it was a desk and a stool for the doctor, and then like 2 small little like kindergarten table kind of chairs. They put a bunch of drugs in you. None of them worked. And then they kept asking you all these questions. And if I hadn't been there, I don't know how you could have consented to anything because you were so out of it. You couldn't think. I have this photo of you and I've deleted it because it really is hard to look at. But like you looked like death. Like you were so bad. And it was really because of how poorly they were treating you. And like it got to the point where like I am not a very confrontational when it like comes to people at work, because I understand that like you're at work, you're dealing with stuff, whatever. I hate how insensitive doctors are, and I understand they're understaffed. I hate how insensitive doctors are, but those nurses that were coming in were being so callous to you and just treating you like what you were going through was nothing. And I think they could tell that I was getting pissed off because I genuinely was like fighting back with them, like, why are you injecting them with the stuff that obviously is not working? Like, what's the end goal here? Like, you took blood work, you took scans. Is there any update on that? And it's like, oh, well, the doctor is looking at them, whatever, he's gonna come in soon. It was like 4 hours, whatever. I was violent. I was violent. Not physically, but I was so violently angry. And I could barely get a word out of you. You had been injected like 4 or 5 times. They had to change like where you were being injected into because the whatever the injection site that they had in the IV that they put in, it failed, so they had to move it somewhere else. And Psychos has medical trauma. And you okay, baby?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm sorry, I'm getting angry about this all over again. But like, had I just dropped you off, you wouldn't have been able to consent to any of the stuff that they were doing to you after like the 3rd injection that they gave you. And then their pain kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then it was that like, I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and they injected you with something. Like they were putting morphine in you and it wasn't working. That's how bad this was. And finally they gave you something that like kind of took the pain away, but not really. It just brought it down like 1 level. You were at like a 7, I think. And they were like, oh, okay, it's getting better. Okay, you can leave now. And they referred you to like a neurologist, and they were like, okay, bye. And so you were still in pain the next day. And then by sheer coincidence, I got called into work last minute and mentioned offhand to the owner that you were having this issue. And he was like, oh, I can't technically tell you this on record, but this is what I take for my pain. And it was a CBD. It was some kind of and thank God we live in a state where that's legal. I went out that night, literally that night after I got off work. Like, it was open till midnight. I got off like 10. Went there, bought you the drops that you take now, and you took the drops in the parking lot. I don't know if we were allowed to do, but you took the drops in the parking lot, and by the time that we had gotten McDonald's and gotten home 30 minutes later, the pain was completely gone. Absolutely completely gone. But the thing that pisses me off is medical practitioners don't give a shit. No, I'm not saying all doctors, but we're also not saying all men either. So we just have to assume it's all of them. It was, you couldn't consent to anything that was going on. They weren't taking you seriously. And I imagine that if this was however many years ago with the symptoms that she was exhibiting, they definitely weren't treating her seriously at all, because you went in for a migraine and they treated you like you were bullshitting everything. And I was so angry. You've never seen me get angry with people before. And thank God you don't remember that night, because I was getting fucking pissed off with that nurse. Anyway, I didn't curse her out or anything. I wasn't being an asshole. I just makes me angry. And then people wonder why people don't go to the doctor and try to advocate for themselves. It's because medical practitioners do not make any environment comfortable for people to talk about it. And I understand that people think that, oh, well, they're treating you this way because they just think that everyone is going in for drugs or whatever. I promise you, the ratio of people who are going in to seek drugs versus going in because they have actual medical issues that are going on, it's not that massive as you think it is. Stop treating people like druggies and fucking help them, because you're the reason why people are dying, and you went into the profession to help people. Sorry, rant over.
No, I fully agree. Like, I do have a lot of medical trauma. I have been shut down from my pain so many times, with people writing it off as just anxiety. Just, I need to relax. I just need to chill out and I'll be fine. And it's not. There are women, like, there was a black woman in, I believe, England not that long ago who literally died screaming when everybody labeled her as a, gosh, what was it? A difficult patient, because she was in so much pain and nobody was paying, like, nobody was helping her at all. And she literally died
Mm-hmm.
in so much pain because nobody was caring. Nobody cared. And I don't trust doctors. Like, unless you are a straight cis white male who is God fearing, then nobody's going to listen to you.
Mm-hmm. So if this is for anyone who's listening out there, if you ever go to the emergency room in the U.S., because I know I know at least half our listeners are not in the U.S., but if you are from the U.S. and you ever go to the emergency room, or someone you know is going to the emergency room, do not let that person go alone, because I promise you, whatever happens in that emergency room, half of that patient will not be able to knowingly consent to. So you need to make a plan, talk to that person and say, what do you want to happen? What do you not want to happen? And when you get into that emergency room, you do not budge from that plan no matter what your friend says. Absolutely do not budge from that plan at all. That's my story.
Okay, so now that we have that fun personal,
I'm sorry, baby.
no, it's fine. I'm okay with it being out. It's just stories like this are stories with any kind of medical shit where something just nobody's listening hit very home. Like I mentioned before, Rusty immediately shuts down the suggestion of electric shock therapy. And Dr. Saeed refuses to describe. God, I almost said it again. Dr. Saeed refuses to prescribe Haldol, despite it working for her in the past, and instead, God, I don't know what it is about prescribes that makes me want to say describes. Prescribes this cocktail of drugs that just aren't working. And because she's in group therapy with people who are in for substance use disorder, all she's hearing is that drugs are bad and will ruin your life.
And she's a Christian, and she's had this fear put into her.
And in that state of mind, she doesn't want to take anything at all anymore.
Yeah.
Terrified that she's going to become a druggie. Which is, I absolutely hate that phrase.
Yeah. Because it's, I'm putting out a theory, but I bet you $20 that it's racially coded.
Oh, it's absolutely racially coded. Are you kidding me? The same people who get arrested and put into jail for like life for marijuana charges versus the people who like to smoke a little joint here and there are not the same race.
Oh, you know how traumatizing it was to discover that, like, was it like cocaine and meth or something are the same thing?
No,
But
cocaine and crack.
cocaine and crack are the same thing, but
Yeah.
it's different charges that they'll use to arrest different types of people. If you don't know about that, I learned about that a while
Oh
ago, and
yeah.
I think about it
No.
a lot.
Everything in this country, whether you realize it or not, is racially coded in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, which is a weird phrase to say if you were ever charged for possessing cocaine versus crack, you've been privileged.
Exactly. Now, despite clearly not doing well, Devereaux discharged Andrea, moving her to outpatient care on April 12th, 2001. The reason was that she was eating and drinking on her own again, but it was extremely small amounts. She wasn't talking still, and she certainly wasn't in a position to let her to take care of herself, let alone 5 children.
What is the point of putting someone in a medical facility if they're just going to immediately turn them away the moment that it looks like they don't have to deal with them anymore?
I have no fucking idea.
Like, what the...
No, because here's the thing. It's not just in America, though.
It's a
Our
thing everywhere?
modern society as a whole
Uh-huh.
is extremely ableist.
Shocker.
Most of the medical practices that involve people with any sort of disability, be it mental, physical, or learning,
Mm-hmm.
it is a very eugenics-based practice. It is awful, but that is why people are pointing out now that certain revolutionaries who are still alive and are supporting one thing or the other, if they aren't willing to mask up right now, still in the middle of a fucking pandemic, because that's still happening, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
if they're not willing to mask up for that, then it shows that they don't care
Yeah.
about people who could potentially get sick and die.
Yeah.
They don't care. So, everything in this country, everything in this world is practically designed to kill people like me and people like you.
It sucks for them. I am too bitter to die.
You're a fucking cockroach. I don't think a nuclear blast could kill you.
Probably not. I haven't been to the doctor since I was 18 years old, and I'm still kicking. My dad's built like a rock, so am I. It runs in the family. My family is full of boulders.
My family is falling apart at the seams in more ways than one. Now, Rusty immediately has his mother come over to help take care of the kids while he takes her to the daily sessions. And he's requesting over and over again that she's to be put back on Haldol because it was really the only thing that worked for Andrea. No, this is Rusty requesting this. So Rusty at this point is advocating for his wife.
Wow, only took you 50 fucking years.
Yeah. But when Rusty was at work and Andrea was at home, her mother-in-law reportedly saw Andrea staring into space and while murmuring to herself and filling up the bathtub with water despite no one at the time needing a bath or there being any sort of emergency situation involved where the bath needed to be filled up.
So she fully saw this woman filling up the bathtub and thought, that's fine.
Yeah, so this was like around April. Now, Rusty has Andrea readmitted to Devereaux because she's clearly not doing well, but this is on May 4th, 2001. Why he took her back to the facility where nothing is being done at all for her, no idea. Now, while there, Rusty visits every day and sees that she's only getting treatment for drug addictions, something that she doesn't even have. She has postpartum psychosis. Why aren't they doing anything about that? All they can do is get her back on Haldol since the other medications that she was on just weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an extremely, extremely low dose. It's practically nothing.
Yeah.
On May 14th, 2001, she's again discharged with instructions to come back for daily outpatient sessions, which aren't working because they are designed for people with substance use disorder. And like I mentioned before, the dosage that Haldol that Andrea is on is so low that it's practically nothing. And everybody around Andrea sees that she's just not there. There's no light in her eyes. She doesn't even look alive anymore.
But, like, why? Why are they doing this to her?
Because there are certain doctors out there who believe that their word is law. I'm not saying all doctors, but I'm saying most doctors. And they think that because they have experiences with patients who have negative experiences with certain drugs, they never prescribe them again. Or, hey, I'm the doctor, I know more than you. Which is just not the case, because 9 times out of 10, I've known people who have had to explain to their doctor what their disorders actually are, because doctors, whenever they do go in for their medical training, they don't get as much research or detail into these things that you should, unless you're a specialist.
I would like to remind everyone that being a doctor and being a scientist are not the same thing. Because I don't think people grasp that enough. Scientists can be doctors. Doctors are not scientists. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say right now, but oh my god, there's a spider. I'm playing Animal Crossing. I just ran past a fucking tarantula. It scared the bejesus out of me.
See what we have to do for our mental health?
Sorry. A scientist, doctors learn what scientists discover and regurgitate it out to the public. However, and this is what I need every doctor listening to this story, because if you still made it this far after I've been ragging this whole time, I need people to understand this. And if you are someone who has been negatively impacted by the medical field, I need you to understand this so hard right now. Science changes all of the time. All of the time. Science can change overnight. Science changes every day. Things that we thought this morning can be different tonight. Science changes all the time. Doctors do not put in the effort so often to look up the updated information on things. They think that what they learned in the 80s is the truth and it will never change. Doctors are not scientists. They are not doing the lab work. They are not putting in the research. They are not getting their shit done. You can have a doctorate. It's not the same as a doctor, by the way. A doctorate degree and being a doctor, not the same thing. I believe.
Well, I mean, the title is the same, but you're not a medical doctor if you have a doctorate. You have to have an MD.
Yes. So if you are a doctor or a nurse or a medical practitioner, whatever, you are not a scientist. You have learned how to do medical stuff and put it onto human bodies. But if you are not actively going out of your way to learn the updated scientific information related to your field and how it impacts the people that you are treating, you are not doing your field a good service. You are actively working against your patients, and that is disrespectful. As a scientist, I hate it. It drives me fucking crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. So if your doctor says, well, I don't think that's right, well, that's not whatever. I promise you, if you are disabled, if you are whatever, advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. I'm begging you. Because
if you don't have somebody if you can't advocate for yourself,
call me. Call me. Say, hang on, and then dial my number, and then call me and say, hey, Mythos, my doctor is not, I can't do this. My doctor's telling me this. And be like, okay, put me on the phone. And then you hand the phone to the doctor, and then I'll come on and be like, hey, what's going on? What are they saying that they have? Oh, okay. Have you looked into this at all? Did you study this in medical school? Are you aware of what this condition is? Have you looked at it in the last 5 years? No. Have you looked at it in the last year? No. Okay, then why don't you go to Google? Because it probably will tell you at least something. You look it up. You go to a specialist. You figure it out. You're a fucking doctor. And if you gaslight this person one more goddamn time, I'm going to come down there. I'm going to shove that stuff that goes so far up your urethra. Okay? You can listen to your ball sacks crunch when I kick it. Got it? Thanks. Can you hand it back now? I'll do it.
yeah. I'm so lucky to have a Mythos who will advocate for me because I am a pushover and cannot advocate for myself right now.
Advocate for yourself because you will probably encounter the information before your doctor does.
No, I literally have heard horror stories of doctors literally Googling information in the fucking room with the patient because the doctor had no idea what the fuck they were
Which is
talking about.
honestly terrible. But at least they're trying.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, I have this, and a doctor says that's not real, you can go, well, your PhD isn't real.
It's just a piece of paper.
Because I promise it'll take you longer to find that piece of paper than it will take me to Google this and show you that it's a thing. Sorry, I have a lot of medical rage.
I do too.
I love my best friend, who's a registered nurse. I love you very much. You're doing amazing. She works in the cardiac wing. I love you. And your boyfriend, if you're listening to this, why haven't you proposed to her? It's been like 4 years.
Anyway, we're getting really dark now. So,
I'm just gonna get more angry.
It's gonna get worse.
I have Harvey though.
Oh yay, I'm so glad.
I have a squishmallow named Harvey. He's a shark.
So on June 4th, 2001, Dr. Saeed tells Rusty to start weaning her off Haldol because obviously it's not working.
Wean her off what? The smallest dose humanly possible that not even a mouse would feel? Wean her off what, air?
Rusty,
the dilutant?
Rusty agrees. And on June
I'm about to rust this man's bones.
And on June 7th, 2001, Andrea is completely off of Haldol and is not taking anything to help her mental health anymore. Because whenever you stop taking medication, you have to wait a certain amount of time for it to completely leave your system before they can start you on something else. So Andrea's friends and family are now extremely concerned for her. Even her own children won't go near her at this point because she's not there. And that is terrifying when your own children refuse to even go near you. And those kids loved her, their mother. They really, truly did. And I'm getting angry and I'm about to start crying. It's fine. So on June 18th, 2001, Rusty and Andrea visited Dr. Saeed again, trying to get Andrea help again. Dr. Saeed asks Andrea if she's suicidal, and she says no. So the doctor says that things are just going to have to be like this for a bit until they can get her on something that's not Haldol, because God forbid she's actually on something with the medication and the dosages that work.
I thought that was a bar that I could put my foot on. I didn't realize it was your foot.
Sorry. Anyway.
Do you need to take a second, babe?
I'm fine.
You sure?
I gotta get through this.
Okay.
So he basically tells her to stay the course until they can get her on something else. The medication that he says that they're going to try next in a couple weeks, by the way, it has already been a couple weeks since she's last taken anything for her mental health. So they're going to have her wait a couple weeks more. But the medication that they're going to prescribe for her, according to Dr. Saeed, does wonders. I forgot to write down the name of the drug. But there's also stories of people who've tried this drug and it's just not worked. It's made things worse, and I don't understand why doctors don't. If there is something that works for somebody, why change it? Why do anything about it? But at this point in time, he also recommends that she just not be left alone at any point in time, just in case. So that's something that stayed consistent. Medical professionals have told the family and told everybody not to leave Andrea home alone with the kids. On June 20th, 2001, Rusty calls his mother and has her come over an hour after he's already left for work, despite instructions not to leave Andrea home alone at all. But he had been giving her time like this every now and then to get her some sort of sense of independence and hopefully help her recover. So he's already been leaving her home alone with the children for like increments of time, trying to help her regain that independence. And he thought that she was doing great because she actually came down and sat and ate with the children and was interacting with the children that morning. After Rusty leaves for work, Andrea went to the bathroom and filled up the tub. She then locks up the family dog, starting with John, then Paul, then Luke. She drowned her children, guiding them in one by one, and then laying their bodies on her bed. She then took Mary and drowned her, But during this, Noah, her eldest, came in and asked what was wrong with Mary.
Oh.
When Andrea didn't respond, Noah ran away from his mother, trying to get away and fight back. But Andrea chased him down and dragged him back to the bathroom and drowned him as well, leaving his body in the bathtub as she placed Mary's body in the arms of her brother John. Andrea then calls 911, asking over and over for a police officer. When the operator asks if she's ill, Andrea says yes, she is, and then continues to ask for an officer to come to her home.
Yeah.
Once she has confirmation that an officer is on his way, Andrea calls Rusty and tells him he needs to come home right away. When he asks why, she just says it's time and refuses to say anything else. Rusty immediately races home. While on the way home, he calls his mom and asks if she's there yet. His mom hadn't made it to the house yet, and in fact, Rusty beats his mom to the house.
Yeah.
And she was already supposed to be there at this time.
So why was she, back up, why was she alone with the kids?
Because Rusty had been giving her alone time with the kids, trying to build up her own sense of independence.
Oh.
Because
which he shouldn't have been doing.
He should not have been doing it.
Okay. But the doctor that released her said it was okay?
Every single medical professional that she has seen, including Dr. Saeed, who was the worst doctor for her, all of them has said that she cannot be home alone. Not at all.
So he decided to take it into his own hands?
Yes.
Okay.
By the time Rusty gets home, the police are already there. He starts screaming and crying, demanding to know what Andrea did with his children. Around this time, local news stations are reporting that there is a situation unfolding with multiple child deaths at this home, so the press is very quick to pick up on this case, and that is partially why this case is so well known, even if it's not for the correct reasons. When Andrea was taken into custody and questioned, it's like she's a robot. There's no emotion, there's no inflection in her voice. It is the saddest thing I have ever seen. Once they realize that she's not doing well mentally, she gets transferred to a psychiatric unit. Once there, she is not doing well and it is actively getting worse. Her self-harm and her suicidal ideations get her placed on suicide watch. While she's in custody, she admitted to killing her children because she felt like she was an awful mother and that the devil was going to get her children if she didn't. She felt like she deserved the death penalty for her punishment for violating the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," despite admitting that she was doing it to save her children's souls.
Yeah.
Several, and I mean several, mental health professionals have admitted that Andrea was mentally the sickest person they had ever encountered and fully supported the defense's plea of not guilty by reason of insanity.
Yeah.
The prosecution, on the other hand, believed that Andrea was not mentally ill, that she was just a cruel woman who had murdered her children to get back at her husband for working too much and for essentially ignoring her.
Oh my God.
And there are people out there who do believe this theory.
Jesus Christ.
And I will get on them later. On March 12th, 2002, the jury agreed with the prosecution, finding her guilty and sentencing her to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Andrea and the prosecution were both disappointed by this sentence because they both wanted the death penalty, but both of them wanted it for violently different reasons.
Yeah.
For Andrea, it was a form of suicide.
Honestly, at this point, if you're a mother who's killed her kids, it's a mercy, is what it is.
Rusty, during this time, was fully convinced that Andrea was going to get let off and that they would go on to have more children, maybe not biologically, but by maybe adoption. He had deluded
Is this man
himself.
still out there?
Yes.
I will find you. I will find you.
Despite Rusty's near delusional desire for more children.
No, delusional.
And the idea that Andrea would be found not guilty, he realizes that both are not feasible and then files for divorce in July of 2004, 2 years after she had been imprisoned, stating that they had not lived as husband and wife since the day of the murders.
Oh my fucking God.
The divorce was granted, and Rusty would later go on to remarry, have a son, and then his new wife divorced him. In 2006, the courts would overturn Andrea's conviction and set a date for a retrial, as one of the experts that the prosecution had used falsely claimed that Andrea had seen an episode of Law and Order where a woman does the same thing and gets a verdict of not guilty by reason of insanity.
Mm-hmm.
However, a writer for the show later, during the appeal portion of it,
Yeah.
later comes on and says no such episode ever existed. In fact, there was a Law and Order criminal intent episode that was based on this case that was
I remember you mentioning this.
released in 2006.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Jesus.
On July 26, 2006, Andrea was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was admitted to the North Texas State Hospital in Vernon before being transferred to the Kerrville State Hospital. Every single year, she is up for review for release, and every single year, she refuses the opportunity.
She's still alive?
She's still alive.
Oh my God.
And everybody has said that she has done so much better, but she still mourns her children, and she actually... her defense attorneys, they were a husband and wife team, they actually set up this thing called the Yates Children Memorial Fund, and it was founded in 2002 with the mission of statement of raising awareness about postpartum illness for the benefit of mother, child, and family. They work to this day to destigmatize and provide assistance to millions of women just like Andrea. And she is so happy about this. She is thrilled that her children's memories are living on through this foundation, through this memorial fund.
Yeah.
And
do you want to link it in the show notes?
I'm gonna try to find it. I couldn't
Okay.
find the exact link for it.
What was it called?
The Yates Children Memorial Fund. I know they were recently taken over by another sort of parent thing, but I want to see if I can. This is the end of my case, but I'm not done. My notes are done. I'm not, because since her new trial in 2006, everybody's kind of accepted that she was a very sick woman who desperately needed help, and that nobody was listening to her and nobody was giving it to her. However, there are still people out there, like the original prosecution and other cruel people to this day, who still believe that she was in her right mind when she drowned her children. A lot of them point to the fact that she had the wherewithal to lock up the family dog to prevent the dog from interfering. You also have people pointing out that she literally chased down her son to drown him.
Yeah.
But if you look at the mother-in-law's testimony during the trial, she had been filling up the bathtub for months before this happened. Months.
Yeah.
This wasn't new.
Yeah.
This was the sign of a very sick woman who was desperately needing help. And to sit here and call her a family annihilator, a woman who was so angry at her husband, or who resented her husband, or who resented her kids for any of it, is disrespectful as fuck. She loved her children. Her children desperately loved her. The only reason why they refused to be around her towards the end was because she was fucking gone mentally. If you ask anybody around her during this time, she was a fucking zombie, essentially.
Yeah.
And in her mind, whenever she committed this crime, she was doing it to save her fucking children. Not for any other reason. So to hear people call her this family annihilator shows that if you have this opinion, it is your opinion, and this just as much as this is mine, but that you have no sympathy, you have no empathy. You are determined to find everything wrong with somebody. And I agree, the justice system is very lenient towards women whenever they have no reason to be. However, to sit here and claim there was no history of mental illness before this, to claim that she was a Chris Watts type figure, is disrespectful as fuck, not only to Andrea and her children, but to Shanann, Bella, and Cece Watts. It is fucking disgusting that you could even think to compare the two. And I don't understand how people like that managed to jump to that conclusion. This is all my personal opinion, by the way. I don't like people like that. And I have a question for those people who still think that she did it out of some malicious thing that she wasn't sick, that she was just evil.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to go from a life imprisonment, the possibility of parole after 40 years, to a state-run mental health hospital where she is up every year for review, for release, and every single year she denies it. If you were this evil woman who killed her children to get back at her husband and to free up her own life, why wouldn't you take every opportunity you can to get out? She still turns down the opportunity for release every single year that it comes up. She refuses to accept it. She doesn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Would a woman who is so evil, as so many people like to say, so callous as to kill her children just for the sole purpose of her husband not being home enough, not doing anything enough, or for loathing her children because she was 5 children with one mother with a husband who was working constantly, with a sick father who ended up passing not long after you gave birth. I'm not saying that Andrea didn't resent her husband. I don't know how Andrea felt about her husband. But if she did, I would not blame her. This man pressured Andrea into having more children. This man ignored advice from medical professionals every step of the way, except whenever it was clear that she was a danger to herself or to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not somebody who should have been around children, should have been around his wife. I'm very angry and I'm very upset. And this is a case that I know I will end up carrying with me, because here's the thing. Whenever people talk about this case, they are very opinionated one way or the other. I am very opinionated towards a very specific direction, but I also have the history of having to deal with the fucking medical professional world to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have had similar experiences, but I will never have that same experience. Oh, I pray that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I cannot imagine. Do I believe that Andrea Yates should have killed her children? No, I don't. I do believe she should have been punished for that, yes. But you also have to remember that she was a very sick woman who genuinely thought that she was saving her children, because she thought if she let her kids live, they would burn in hell.
Yeah.
And of course, the Warreneckis were like, oh no, we had no part in this. This was all her. We had no part in this. Despite the fact that she was being lambasted daily from daily letters from Rachel Warrenecki herself, showing that Andrea was a bad wife and a bad mother. And had somebody stopped when her eldest had been born and listened to her then, because let's be honest, this didn't come out of nowhere. This didn't come after Luke had been born, her 4th son. This came after her firstborn, when she saw Satan and Satan had told her to grab a knife and to stab somebody.
Yeah.
It was that early, but nobody did a damn thing for her.
Yeah.
Listen to your fucking loved ones whenever they say something is wrong. Look for the fucking signs yourself. Don't assume that everybody's okay just because they say they're okay. Because I am of the belief that it never hides. There are always signs, but there's people who are just too caught up with their own shit to pay attention. Humans have become a very selfish species, and I don't like it. As a community, I feel like we need to relearn what the fuck community means. Because had people actually cared about Andrea, and I'm not saying that nobody cared, but had people actually sat down and understood what was going on, had people actually listened to Dr. Starbranch, the one medical professional who actually was trying to help, even as far back as to be like, hey, it's only been a few months of you being on this drug. I know it feels great. You cannot have another kid.
Mm-hmm.
But Rusty wanted more. And as a husband, as a spouse,
He's a shitty one.
he should have been the first line of defense for his wife.
And he wasn't.
And he wasn't. And he decided to try to claim his children as his own the day everything came tumbling down. Where were you?
Why'd you abandon your kids and your wife?
As far as I know, Andrea and Rusty are still in touch. They still keep in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Even after he got remarried, had another kid, and got divorced because his new wife divorced him.
Good for her.
Despite all
Honestly.
that, they're still in contact.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would be, but I'm not Andrea.
Yeah. The Yates Memorial was taken over by Postpartum Support International, and according to the Charity Navigator, it has a score of 90%. It's a 4-star charity, as a score of 88 in 2022. There is a page that talks about them taking over the foundation. You can also donate or help by purchasing. They have materials that you can do. They have, it looks like a merch store where I'm assuming the proceeds go to the charity itself. The helpline for the PSI is 1-800-944-4773. And when you call, you can press 1 for Spanish or 2 for English, or you can text for Spanish 971-203-7773. For English, it is 800-944-4773. You can text help to either of those numbers. And their website is www.postpartum, postpartum.net. N-E-T. They have a lot of resources on there for people who are struggling with anything to do with postpartum at all. They also have, it looks like, a few locations in different states, so you can search to see if they have an actual clinic near you before or after, and they have help for both moms and dads. When I looked up the local place, they had a photo of a little kid with Bluey. It's very cute. All right, hey then. You ready?
Are you ready?
All right. I am so desperately trying to summon people from this area. Please listen to our podcast. Alrighty. So this was requested by Psychos, who is Scottish. So that is why I'm talking about this today.
Even though this was technically supposed to go with next episode.
Yes, but I needed to take a break from reading so much. So
That's fair.
it's been swapped. Today, as per Psychos' Scottish request, we are talking about the Benia. Benia. B-E-A-N. Nighe. 2 words, Benia. This is, I'm so sorry for this. It's another cursed woman. I'm so sorry. So just a heads up, this is gonna be a very short section. The Benia comes from Scotland, which, just a rough idea of what's going on with Scotland. So if you look at a map of the UK, Scotland is like the top half of the main island. England is the bottom half. Boo. That's a joke.
That's why they're on the bottom.
Oh, anyway. Scotland would top. Anyway.
Oh my god.
It's joke time. So if you're looking at a map of the United Kingdom, Scotland is the top half, England is the bottom half. So there's 3 main regions in Scotland. So you have the Highlands, which is where your family is from.
Yes.
Which is the mountainous region to the north and northwest. And this has the most mountains of the British Isles.
Also,
And then,
fun facts. Only the Highlands of Scotland have clans. The Lowlands and like the Midlands area, like no other place in Scotland has clans. So if your family is from Scotland but you're not specifically from the Highlands, you're not part of a clan. Sucks.
fun facts.
This has
I'm not
been-
Scottish. I'm German, so I have different fucking shit shows to deal with, which is fine. Technically, my family is Swedish and moved down to whatever. Anyway. And then we have the Lowlands, which is a pretty much like a flat plain area across the center of Scotland. And then you have the Southern Uplands, which is a hilly area that's on the southern end of Scotland along the border of England. So it's almost like a bowl shape. So yeah. We want to move to Scotland very bad. So Scotland is divided into 4 main council groups, kind of like how we have states. They have their own little kind of sections. So I have them all listed out. I'm not going to list them. There's like over 30 of them. But we have the Eastern Scotland, the Southwestern Scotland, Northeastern Scotland, and the Highlands and the Islands. And I think we're sticking with the Islands and the Highlands this episode. But we are going to dump down into the Southwest a little bit. I'm going to be uploading these notes to Patreon whenever we get that set up as all my notes. And in there, I have each different district listed out by which of these council areas they're in. But that's kind of how Scotland is divided up. Examples of different areas are the ones that everyone's fucking heard of. So we have Angus, we have Edinburgh, Scottish Borders, we have Glasgow, and it's pronounced Galway, I'm pretty sure, but it's spelled Galway, which is confusing for my brain. We have Aberdeen.
Aberdeen.
Fuck off. We have Aberdeen and stuff like that. So, didn't mention anywhere from the Highlands in that list. So,
Aberdeen.
We have Sutherland, Ross, and Comparty. Comparty.
No.
So sorry to anyone who lives in Scotland. I'm not the one who's learning Gaelic, okay? It's Psychos.
I'm trying to reconnect with my ancestors and it's not working.
So that's kind of the rough idea of how it works. And if you look at a map, if you look up like the map of Scotland, wherever they'll kind of broken up, it looks like it's a lot tighter, smaller regions as you get towards as from the southern area, and the more up you get, the bigger it gets. Kind of like how in the US everything on the East Coast is super cut up and small because they didn't realize how fucking big the US was yet, and then as they moved out they were like, oh shit. And that's why all the states like to the left of the Mississippi are fucking massive. So the name Scotland comes from Scotty, which is the Latin name for the Gaels. The name Scotia was originally used to refer to Ireland, fun facts, as was the Old English word Scotland. Eventually, the name was used to refer to the Gaelic-speaking Scotland or and Albania or Albany, and that word comes from the Gaelic Alba, which I think is the name in Gaelic for Scotland.
It is.
Yeah. So
I remembered that much.
So that's your basic idea on Scotland. I also know that Scotland does not like England and wants freedom.
But
I support you guys.
The old people who are like, oh no.
All I remember is that one video, I think it was Scotland, of like the Lizzie's in a box. Yeah, that's all I know about Scotland, which I think is a great way to get off with Scotland. To know, like, the first thing I know about Scotland is I'm married to one of you fuckers.
Lizzie's in a box,
Lizzie's in a box.
That was great.
So, they have a football team?
Like, yeah.
Does Scotland have a football team?
They have like a few footballs. Like,
I am a German. I'm German, so I think that'll tell you who I fucking root for.
Scotland's like big on football.
I know they're big on football. Well, yeah, then I guess they would have a football team.
Duh.
Maybe. Hey, at least I don't like fucking Manchester United.
Like I don't either.
I know some bitches who are like, oh my god, Manchester United. And I'm like, get a personality. So sorry. All of our listeners from England just checked off, and we just got like 50 million listeners from Scotland with that one sentence.
We just lost.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, we're gonna get.
I don't like American football. I prefer football, soccer, and hockey. If you are not from the US and you want to get into a US sport, hockey. Technically it's Canadian. Hockey. I don't think they have hockey in the UK. Does the UK have hockey?
I know they have Quidditch.
Whatever.
Fuck J.K. Rowling, by the way. Fuck that bitch.
Oh my god, there is a hockey team in the UK. Crazy. The Benia. The Benia is Gaelic for the washerwoman or the laundress. The washing woman or the washer of the ford. I'm assuming that's a reference to the word fjord, but ford. Looking to the Scottish person for confirmation. Scottish person is ignoring me.
Scottish person doesn't have glasses on. Probably.
Ford, F-O-R-D.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's referring to the word fjord.
Probably, honestly. Because Ford and Fjord are
Two different languages, though.
two different languages, but
It's the same shit.
Same basic word.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's the washer at the fjord. It's sometimes the washerwoman is referred to as a banshee. It is not a banshee. I'll get into it. So, what the fuck is a washerwoman? A washerwoman is an old woman seen typically down by creeks or running water or streams or waterways of any kind. And she's typically seen at night. Now, sometimes you'll see one of her, or sometimes you'll see three. We'll get into that. The French come into this. Sorry about it. To the people that listen to us in France. I've been sneezing in threes a lot recently. So.
Oh no! How's your local demon doing?
I lost him yesterday when I came home from work.
Oh no!
I know, I literally said, no, I can't sneeze again, I'll lose, and then I sneezed again.
No!
I'm losing all my demons. Oh yeah, I can't eat. Do you want some?
No, I'm okay. I'm not really.
Sure.
I'm not hungry.
So the washerwoman is an old hag, blah blah blah. Typically seen down by waterways, all that fun stuff. Now she's described. I'm going to describe what she looks like, and then I'm going to tell you what she does. So, depending on where you're from in Scotland, she's going to have different descriptions. The bare minimum, she's fugly. She's fucking ugly.
I know what fugly means.
Do you know the word for ugly in Gaelic?
No.
Damn.
But I know how to say good morning.
Say good morning.
Mating va.
Sounds like Simish to me. Anyway.
Now you know how it sounds like whenever you start speaking German, and I'm like, all I'm getting is rage. It's like angry Simlish, and I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Guten Morgen is not rage.
No, but some of the other words.
Like what?
I don't fucking know. I don't speak German.
I don't speak Gaelic either.
German is a very angry language.
Gaelic is a language. It's a language. It sounds like you're constantly getting cursed by someone who's drunk. Not cursed at. Cursed.
By like a drunk witch.
By a drunk witch. That's what Gaelic sounds like to me.
Accurate.
All right, so one of the descriptions is that she is tall and thin. Sometimes she'll have just one long front tooth, like a buck tooth, but just one buck tooth, not two buck teeth.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Claws. She'll have one nostril. I don't know if that means that she's like a cyclops, but like nose.
I don't.
Like a cyclops, but a nose. Like one. Is it just one hole? Or does she just is it like a normal nose, but just one of them's missing?
I have no idea.
No one knows. Nobody knows. And she'll have really ugly, big meaty claws.
Hey, get that English shit out of here.
Another one is that I meant to write busty, but I wrote busy.
Me too.
I don't want to describe her as fat, but she was described as fat. So she's a small, plump woman in a green dress. So there's that one. She can also appear in an area as a small, weak child. That's a fun one.
Honestly, though, Scottish women are supposed to be bigger, but like, I'm not. So I know my Scottish ancestors are disappointed in me because
that ass is.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, there's another description, and I'm really sorry I have to tell this to you. If you live in this fucking area and you listen to this episode, I have questions for you. So there's this area, I think it's in the southwest on the island of like Skye or something.
I want to go to Skye.
In Scotland. They have I could be wrong with this. If I said the wrong island, don't fucking come for me, okay? She's a woman. She's a woman. She has these super long boobies. You know that song?
No. I know exactly which one you're talking about. The one with the chain and how it hangs low.
But you know the parody one with the boobs? you ever seen that one? The grandma one with the
no.
You've never seen that one?
I've heard a parody one that talks about ears.
Oh my god.
Because it's like a Bugs Bunny type shit, but like not. You can show me later.
No, you have to see it right now.
God, you can show me later. I don't want to see this. What the fuck did I just watch?
It's from 15 years ago.
That was awful.
If you want to know what I'm thinking about, go to YouTube and type in "Do your boobs hang low?"
No.
It's a great video.
It was so bad.
Anyway, so that's what I was thinking of. So she's got these super long boobies, but because they get in the way of her washing, she throws them over her shoulders and they hang down her back. That's why I looked at this video. Now, I am going to get into the explanation of why this happens, but it is recommended that if you encounter this specific one, you are supposed to go up and suck on her boobs. I will explain that later, I promise, but this is why I have questions. Psychos looks like I just hit them in the face.
I felt like I just got hit in the face.
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
So, the washerwoman, or the Benia, she is an omen of death, if you can believe that, based off the description I just gave you.
Well, if her boobs are that long, I assume so.
So she is a woman of an omen of death. Now she's seen by these streams washing clothes, specifically clothes that belong to people who are about to die, and they are blood soaked.
Oh.
Now it would be like if we knew someone who was going to die tonight or die tomorrow. If we encountered the Benia, she would be washing that person's clothes tonight, covered in blood, but they die tomorrow. So she's like a foretelling, which I guess would mean you'd have to recognize the person's clothing. So hopefully your friends don't wear the same t-shirt. Your friend, your enemy don't have the same t-shirt.
Fingers crossed.
Typically, Benia are women who died in childbirth, who were cursed by the Fae and trapped and transformed into the Benia. I don't know why. I don't know what the Scottish people have against women who died in childbirth. If someone wants to fact check me on why the fuck that is. It can be a woman dying in childbirth and turning into a Benia can be avoided if the clothes that she was wearing or all of her clothes that she owned were washed the same day she died. If the clothes weren't washed for her, then she's doomed to wash the clothes of other people until she dies. Or until she was supposed to die. So if you were supposed to live till like 70, but you died in childbirth at 30, you would be washing clothes for the next 40 years as a Benia, basically being an omen of death until whenever you were supposed to die naturally, and then that's when you vanish.
I know, I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think it's the Scots people who have a thing against women who die in childbirth, but I know stories of the Fae who are like the Scottish stories of Fae. The Fae are very, very, very nasty, particularly in Scottish mythology, as opposed to like some other mythologies. Like I know Scots and Irish Fae are nothing like the English Fae.
Very different, yeah.
Like most of the mean, like evil Fae that you see, that's like
Scottish and Irish.
Scottish and Irish, yeah.
Gotcha. What do you do if you're walking along the road at night and you encounter a Benia? Well,
what do you do?
Lucky for you, if you live in Scotland, I got you, homie. So here's what you're gonna do. Okay. If you encounter the one that's plump in a green dress, if you can get, I think this might be overall for everyone, but they mention these different tricks for different ones, so I'm going to keep them together, but I think this might be an overarching thing. If you can sneak up and get between her and the river, so if you can manage to sneak up without her seeing you and get between her and the river, then she won't kill you, which is good. But you can gain things from her. So if you encounter the one that's a small child, if you sneak up behind her and grab her, she'll tell you when and how you will die. But if she sees you first before you grab her, you're paralyzed for the rest of your life. So that's fun.
Okay. That's a thing.
If you see the one with the long boobs, you were supposed to, instead of leaving, sneak up behind her and suck on her boobs.
Why?
Because then you can claim milk kinship and technically be considered her foster child because she's nursing you. Because she's a woman who just died in childbirth. Technically speaking, she's a mother. So you can claim kinship with her and be her foster kid, and she'll accept you as her kid and then protect you I'd be like a spirit, guardian spirit. And if she's washing your clothes or the clothes of someone you know, she'll stop and you can give her the clothes of your enemies in the place of the clothes she was washing.
Maybe I should go find some.
I got some clothes for you, bitch.
I got some clothes. I got a long
I got a
laundry
long list
list.
of clothes. Literally a long laundry list. That's that. Now, there's not a lot on these creatures, unfortunately. But there is a version of the Midnight Washerwomen. Now, this is a Celtic myth. However, it's a French name, so I think it's actually in France. They like moved. But this is specifically a Celtic myth called the Midnight Washerwomen. Now, these women are the small ones dressed in green. They have webbed feet. And they're all super fucking ugly, by the way. These ones are considered to be omens of death for people who see them or someone in the family of the person who sees them, though this is considered rare. So I think sometimes it is you, sometimes it's not you. Or the people that see them are close to death themselves, but they might not be signaling your death. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now sometimes these ones will be wearing white dresses instead or traditional Celtic clothing, and they will be super fucking pale. Now, they don't like to be bothered. So if you see them, turn heel, get the fuck out of there. But if you do see them, you're cursed. So that sucks.
Damn.
If they see you, they might be like, "Oh, can you help me wring out these clothes?" If you hesitate for a second, they break your arm. If you refuse, they drown you. I know. Isn't that crazy? So you're just like, I mean, yeah, I guess, which is why you just don't approach strangers ever.
Yeah,
I know. So, specifically this was specific to Wales and Cornwall, so I'm going to mention it as Wales and Cornwall, but this could be another thing that's overarching, so just a heads up. So, you've encountered a Vinaya. There's no titties to suck. Sorry, so you got to keep walking. Ugh. She saw you and asked you to help her wring out the clothes. What the fuck do? You say yes, immediately say yes. You go over and you take note of which way she's twisting the clothes that she's wringing out. And you twist the opposite way. So if she's twisting the clothes to the left, you twist them to the right. The reason being is if you twist them in the same direction that she's twisting the clothes, she'll rip your arms off and you'll get killed. But if you twist them in the opposite direction, she'll grant you 3 wishes. And this is a consistent thing. If you manage to catch a Bania, or if you manage to help them in some way, or sneak up on them, or somehow stop them from doing what they're doing without them noticing, they'll give you wishes, 3 wishes, or a wish, or they'll tell you something you want to know. So here is one of the myths. So I have 2 myths for you. So this is a story out of the Highlands, which I think it seems like they're mostly a thing of. It's called the Mermaid of Loch Slin, Slin. I'm totally pronouncing that wrong. I'm so sorry.
Well, you got Loch right, so halfway there.
Thank you. This bitch wanted me to do the Loch Ness Monster.
I thought it would be funny.
Anyway, so it's about a young woman, and she is walking around the loch, and she sees a washerwoman in the fucking loch, and she's washing these clothes, like beating the shit out of these clothes, trying to get this fucking blood out, right? This woman has like 30 something shirts, like a shit ton of clothes for different people. So like a shit ton of people are gonna die, right? She like freaks out. She goes home. She like sees Lee. She's like, fuck that. And she dips, right?
Yeah.
She goes home. She's like, Dad, you're not gonna fucking believe what I just saw. I saw this fucking lady down at the water washing a shit ton of fucking clothes, and they're all bloodstained. And he's like, that's weird. The next day, right? It's a local church. It's a local whatever. They're holding worship in this abbey, right?
Oh no.
The stone roof collapses.
Oh no.
It's Fearn, Fern Abbey. Fern Abbey. It collapses during the worship, killing 36 people. This is true. That's a true story.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
The abbey had been restored about 100 years before, or they had gotten the grant to restore it about like 50 years before, something like that. So it had been recently restored. Now the abbey collapsed. They ended up taking the pieces of the abbey and building a new one nearby, but then that one was also getting abandoned. So I think the original abbey's been rebuilt, like the first one. But this is true. This actually happened. It did genuinely collapse and kill people. But it killed 36 people. She saw about 30 plus shirts. So the idea is she saw the washerwoman at the local lock cleaning the shirts of the people who were about to die. She was foretelling the collapse of this church.
Oh, that's terrifying. I hated that. I hated all of that.
I know. No, this is another story. This one is from like a poet or a writer or whatever. So, this is from Alexander Carmichael. So he tells the story of a man who was going home and he stumbles upon a Benia. Now he manages to grab her from behind and is like, I'm not letting you go unless you give me wishes. And she's like, fuck you, what do you want?
Me in the morning when you wake me up. I'm not letting you. It's like, you gotta wake up. Me,
fuck you, what do you want?
what do you want from me?
So these are the things that he wants to know. He wants to know who the clothes that she's cleaning belong to. He wants a wife of his choice. And he wants there to always be seaweed in the creek of their town as long as the earl of that area is alive. I don't know why. I don't know if they farmed that shit or something, but they needed seaweed there in the creek. So whatever. So she's like, fine, fuck you. So she's cleaning the clothes for the great clan Clanranald? Clanranald of the Isles.
Can you send that to me? Because you spelling it didn't like register. I need to see it.
This dude.
I'm not sure, actually. I don't think I've ever heard of that title.
So,
oh my god. Are you really eating in the middle of your story?
So she says that she is washing the clothes of some great leader or something of the Isles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says that he shall never again in his life go across this area. Basically saying he's not gonna fucking be here anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, he takes the clothes that she's washing, puts them on the end of his spear, and launches that shit into the lock. Gone. Clothes gone. And then runs home. He gets home and he goes to the dude. And he's like, dude, I just met a washerwoman and she was fucking washing your clothes. And he's like, fuck that. Kill a cow, give it to me, make a boat, I'm out of here. He leaves the isle. He goes back to the mainland, never comes back. He lives, but her prophecy was still true. He never returned to that area. He never walked across that land again. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that okay.
That's all I have.
Oh, he did. Oh, so did the dude like get his wife? Did he get like?
I assume so.
Did he get any of that?
Well, the only thing he wanted was a wife. That's all he wanted.
Choose.
Huh?
Of his choice, which probably meant that he wanted somebody that he could not have, who did not want him.
Probably. Scottish? Yes. Still a man? Yep.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yes, all men. Sorry about it.
Like I said, my section's really short. So, how is this not a banshee? Right? Very different. So, a banshee is Irish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the banshee is a very specific type of creature. I think I covered it in the La Llorona story.
I think you like briefly went over it because that wasn't the focus.
Yeah, so a banshee is it's another omen of death person, specifically Irish, but they scream. Now, the banshees are specific to Ireland because they follow certain Irish clans. So they'll only go after, there'll only be omens of death for certain Irish families, basically. So your likelihood of seeing them if you're not Irish is fucking nilch. Typically, the person who sees the banshee is the one who's dying or someone super close to the person. No. That's not true. Whoever sees the banshee or hears the banshee, either they're gonna die or someone they know super close to them is gonna die. I think that's right? Banshee signal your own death. You're like, I don't know, I'm tired. Now, there is a Scottish version of a banshee. It is not the washerwoman. I didn't write down the name. The washerwoman doesn't really make any noise. Like, if unprovoked, she will not provoke you, kind of a thing. She just kind of sits and hang out. Also, banshees are just banshees. They're not from something. They just are a banshee. Whereas the Benia is a woman who was turned into a Benia. She's forced into this. She's forced to be an omen of death against her will, which is unfortunately very accurate to the story that we covered today with Psychos.
Which was unintentional.
Yes, this was actually supposed to be next week's episode, but I ended up swapping my stories because my next story is a little gory.
Mine's not any better.
So it's not a banshee. I did look up a couple videos. There's not a lot of information on these guys. So I looked like the wiki, and then I looked up this one video. It was the only video I could find where they didn't call this thing a banshee. This is actually the guy who said it's not a fucking banshee. So it's called Liath Wolf, Liath WOLF. This video was posted about 3 years ago. It's on YouTube. If you want to go watch it, it's great. It was a pretty good resource. But yeah, so also the comments there, very informative. But Psychos recommended or requested this, so I did it. And yeah, not much to go off of here. It's a very not super common creature, but definitely interesting. So if you ever see a woman washing her clothes down by the lake, run.
Just don't.
Just run. Unless she has long titties, then drink or die. Maybe she like lassos her titty around your neck and like
no, that's
and then like chokes you with it if she sees you first.
Like some like scorpion shit from
Get over here.
That's
Speaking of Mortal Kombat. Wait, what's that one guy? The hot one. Sub-Zero? The blue one.
Sub-Zero?
Ugh. Sorry. And his brother or whatever.
Scorpion.
The gold one?
Scorpion.
I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat. Except that Sub-Zero is hot as fuck.
Which is ironic.
Is it?
Considering his ice powers.
Oh, he's sexy. Anyway. Mortal Kombat, if you want to sponsor us.
Oh my god. You're like, I know nothing about
I will play all of these games for the first time. I am untouched by your franchise. I know nothing. I know that one trend that went around TikTok, the Katana wins flawless victory.
Oh my god, I fucking love Katana.
It was such a good trend.
Oh my god,
I know nothing about Mortal Kombat.
I want to cosplay her so bad. Yeah, that's something that we like to do on the side. So if you know us IRL, no you don't.
No, you don't. I would cosplay Sub-Zero. I think you've asked me to do that a couple times.
Oh my god, you would
look so spicy.
Good as Sub-Zero.
Anyway, so yeah, that's literally all I have. I have like not even 2 pages of notes. It was a small little palette cleanser because next week I'm doing a big one.
Yeah, my case notes for next episode aren't as long as my case notes for this one, but it is not. It's still pretty bad. And then the one after that, not great either. The one after next week is gonna be extremely rough. I am giving you ample warning in advance, and I will continue to warn you up until the episode where I will give you another warning again. And that one we may have to stop and take breaks during, because
that's fine.
Just my preliminary research has had me literally shaking.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh.
And then
that doesn't bode well for me.
Yeah. And then I think June we'll start rolling out some stuff onto Patreon that's additional content when we have the time. And then July is my birthday month, so we're gonna be doing some fun stuff for that. I'll be doing a 4-parter, 3-parter.
I think it's a 4-parter.
I know that one of the episodes we're actually doing a joint episode where I get to talk about some stuff that I really love.
Are we?
It has ruined my life. Yeah.
I thought you were doing a 4-parter.
I was gonna cut it down to 3 and talk about the creepypastas for the 4th one.
Oh.
Yeah. We talked about that.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did. Because you asked me, are you going to be able to get all that information down in 3 episodes? And I said, probably not, but I'm going to try.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. Doing a 3-parter on something I love. Not that I love it, but like that I love. And then we're going to be coming together for 1 episode. So July is going to be looking crazy. Anyway, so sorry for the trauma of this episode, and also so sorry that I didn't talk about much this episode, but I've been a busy bee.
Yeah. I
You have no energy. You're so tired.
I really don't. I'm sorry. Like,
That took a lot out of you. I think it took a lot out of everyone. Go make some hot chocolate. Go, like, take a second, rest. Hug your loved ones.
do what you gotta do to
Don't
feel
ask them to wring
better.
out your clothes.
Oh, God.
You're so done with me.
I know Mythos wrote out the information for that. I am more than likely going to also deposit it down in the show notes.
And please, please, mentioned it last time, please check our Instagram. Please follow us on Instagram. That is where we post photos for each episode and also post when the episode's up. And we're also going to be posting resources there. And then you can also message us there and be like, hey, I want to hear this story. So let me know you guys exist. Please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Or email us. Just say hi. Someone, I'm begging you, just someone email us and say hi. I'm desperate for attention.
Yep, there's the Leo.
That was fucking rude. If you message us on Instagram, you'll probably get me. If you message us on through email, you'll probably get me. If you message us anywhere else, you're getting Psychos.
Well, Instagram, you're more than likely going to get me.
I check the Instagram every day.
Oh, I do too.
Oh, shit. Anyway.
So, are we going to talk about what just happened, or are we just going to let it happen?
You can talk about it. I'm going to go close the blinds.
Okay. I don't know exactly what happened, but where we record is kind of like in the middle of the room. And I sit with my back towards one side, and Mythos sits with their back towards the other. And something behind Mythos either fell or made some kind of noise, and we weren't expecting it because we're alone in the room. Like, Bills and Patches aren't even in here. Like, yeah, it is. None of the
animals are in here right now. And then freaking Psychos caught a ghost on the last episode.
Oh God, I think that's why they were like that. I think that's why they throttled it. They were like, no
ghost,
too spooky. So I think we're haunted.
We could be. Who knows?
You should do an episode on it.
We should do an episode on our house being haunted, and then I'll just sit here and be like, it's not fucking haunted for an hour.
And I'm like sitting there, but what about this? What about that? What about this? And you're like, shut the fuck up.
It's not that deep, I promise.
Have a good night, guys.
You're so tired, baby.
I'm so emotionally drained. It's fine.
Yeah.
But have a good night. Morning, day, whenever.
Sorry for the heavy episode. Sorry for the short story on my part. Next episode, I promise, is going to be a little worse.
These next few episodes, I'm not joking until we get to the lighthearted bit.
Mine's not lighthearted at all.
Like, no. Like, because I had specifically planned out, like, every month to do, like, at least one lighthearted episode. And that lighthearted episode falls on the last day of the month last episode of the month for May. But I don't know what I was on when I chose the cases for this month, because I chose these cases, like, a couple months in advance. I don't remember what I was on. I don't remember what I was doing.
You're like, let's do all the sad things back to back to back.
And I regret
I'm suffering
most of my decisions right now. It's fine. I'm fine.
It's all right.
Fine.
We'll get through it.
Yeah.
Go take care of yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Advocate for yourself, or call me and I'll advocate for you. And if you're from Scotland, please let us move there. If you're in any position of power, please, pretty please.
With a cherry on top.
With a whole ass cherry on top. Do you have any teaser for next episode that isn't going to get us taken off of certain streaming platforms?
I said it at the top of the episode, and I'll say it again. Don't have kids.
If you do have kids, don't.
I'm gonna say Little Demon Girl from Hell is very much a real thing and not just a stereotype found in horror movies. Scary. No like it. Bad.
God, what would my teaser be? Son of the Devil.
Oh shit. Found the fucking connection.
Yeah, there it is. Children from Hell. That's our connection.
Hell, yeah.
Next episode, Children from Hell.
I am gonna say this now. Unfortunately, this week's case and next week's case, the perpetrator of the crimes were both victims as well. Andrea was a victim of the mental health variety. Like, it was not variety, but she was a victim to her own head, to her own brain, and to the medical professionals and her own husband. However, that does not absolve her of her guilt, and she lives with that every single day. The person I'm talking about next week is very much aware of her own trauma and how it influenced her, but she doesn't use it as an excuse whenever she grows up, because she does commit her crimes very young. But it is very important to acknowledge the role that trauma of any kind, especially untreated, like that role that that those things play. While there are some people who are just cruel and mean for the sake of being cruel and mean, there's almost always a deeper meaning. So be gentle with each other. Nobody knows what the other person is going through unless they talk about it. And likely nobody's talking about it. So, in that case, stay safe, keep learning, and have a good night.
I didn't tell anyone to fuck off.
You have plenty of people to tell the fuck off.
Watch Nat's What I Reckon on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Fuck Sub-Zero, but in a different way.
Oh god.
Night.
Night.